Hello my crafty friends, thank you all so much for waiting for me while I was on a summer break. I am back to my regular schedule and today I'm going for a double page art journal using products from my new release. So first let's take a look on what's included. The main core of the collection is the ephemera, again just like the previous time. In my first collection it was more of a pastel, blues and pinks colors, this time more autumn colors, inspired from the season. And I'm going to take them out of the packaging so you can see the designs. Again, just like in the first collection, you will find big focal points that really make a statement, as well as smaller ones like butterflies, flowers and leaves to help you embellish the bigger designs. And as you can see, Ginger, my cat, is making an appearance in this collection, as well as lots of vintage elements like the keys, the typewriter, the gramophone, another cat in another position, a stack of books, as well as a stack of suitcases. The sizes are great to work both on the big art journal. They are a great size and really make a statement on a bigger page. You can combine some of the elements to create your scenes. So for example, you can use the cat on top of the suitcases or the key with the butterflies. And I specifically designed them so that they would work both on the bigger art journal as well as on my smaller one, and at the same time they work great for cards as well, and I will make a video with 10 cards using one of the ephemera packs. So when I take them out of the packaging, I like to keep them in a box so that I can easily browse through them and see what fits my project. And then of course, to complement those ephemera, I do have 3 different designs of Rub-ons. Now these are the tickets and you can see you get a lovely color combination that matches everything from the ephemera. This is full of flowers, butterflies and leaves. Some of the designs are exactly the same as the ones that you find in the ephemera pack. And then finally, here is another one with clocks, labels, keys and even more designs to embellish your projects. And of course I just had to design a few stencils since I love them a lot. Here is the one that is travel themed. Lots of words in this one as well as a map and a globe. Here is a music themed one with lots of notes, but also you get some decorative elements in the corners that you can use in pretty much any project. I think this is really versatile as well. And finally here is my typewriter one. This is where you will find old typewriter fonts like letters and numbers, really random one, absolutely a favorite of mine from this collection, and I will be using this today. And for this collection I did design a couple of stamps. Again, I made sure that they are very versatile and you can use them in pretty much every project. This time I went with 3 designs that are really long, but in any case, although they look long, they are going to fit on a card as well as on the small art journal. So you can stamp one of those to start your collage, or if you are working on a card, then they would make a great background as well. And at the bottom you will find 2 circle designs, a compass and a clock. Here is another one where you will find a few long stamps again, the film strip as well as lots of text. You can combine one on top of the other, those 2 work beautifully together, and then you will find a bunch of leaves and branches. Again, a very versatile stamp set. It fits in a card or a small art journal, as you can see, and I'm going to share lots of examples on how these can be used. And last but not least, to complement the colors of this collection, I do have a pack of 6 acrylic paints. These are Allegro acrylic paints by Stamperia. I handpicked the colors from the huge Allegro collection. If you haven't used their acrylic paints before, you are going to love them. They have a great coverage, they are fluid, and they are perfect for art journaling. So here is an example. This is one of the projects that I will be teaching in Scrapbook Central, Montreal, Canada at the end of October. If you live in the area and you want to art journal with me, make sure to check it out. And I'm going to show you another example on a small journal this time so that you can see how it works. Here is one of my minis, and here you can see I used my stack of books. I will share a video on how I did this page as always. So this is the collection. It is available to pre-order in a few shops. Down below the description you will find the links, but it will be available worldwide in about a week. So let's start creating a page today, playing with the new products. I'm working on my stone paper journal and I'm going to work on a double page. I will start by applying color, and you can see here that I decided to start with the green and the blue. I'm adding a little bit of water on both my pages so that the color can move easily and I can spread it around with my brush. I'm using a flat brush and I'm going to apply it, and I left this part of the video, although you will find that later on I'm going to change my mind. So I'm applying green, then I'm going to apply blue, and I decided that I don't like the result. It's something that happens to me all the time, not liking what I'm doing, but there is always a workaround. Don't be afraid. If you don't like something, just cover it up, and that's exactly what I did here. I just covered up everything with blue. So I'm starting over. And this time I'm going with Nougat instead of going with the green. I'm going to add a few dots on top of my page and just blend them out. I'm not going for a full coverage, I just want to have some random brush strokes here and there. And it's not like the blue and the green in the previous attempt wasn't nice. I just decided to go for a more vintage look and feel, and I felt that it was too bright for the style that I was going for. And I think that this toned it down a little bit, and I'm going to show you one more idea on what you can do to tone down a background if you want to turn it into an instant vintage background. So here I'm using vintage antique ink paste. This is a product by Stamperia designed by Antonis Danidakis. I added a blob and I'm going to dilute it with mineral spirit. By the way, the mineral spirit that I'm using, because I get a lot of questions about that, is just Gamsol. It is odorless, and any mineral spirit or turpentine would work with this paint. Remember, this is oil based. Now you can apply this and cover up both pages. It can be as thin or as thick as you like. You see mine here works as a wash. Don't worry at all about the brush strokes, about being smooth or blend it out. Just cover up the page, and then I'm going to use a paper towel and wipe it off. This is going to give kind of a patina look. It's going to age the colors underneath, and I think it is an instant vintage look. I'm going to repeat the same process on the other page as well. Now I'm going to create a border, and I will use a couple of techniques for that. I'm starting with brown. This is my coffee dye ink, and with a blending tool I'm going to apply it all around the edges, going towards the center. Then I'm going to use this border from my first collection, and I'm going all around the edges. I will apply black ink. This is my black dye ink, but you can definitely go with black acrylic paint. And this way I'm just creating a border, so I go from black border to a little bit of brown to the colors that I applied for my background. Then I'm going to use this stencil to add some visual texture, since I'm going with the typewriter as my focal point, so I think it matches perfectly the theme. And you can go over it with paste, with black paste, with any glitter paste that you have. I decided to go completely flat for today, so I'm just going to use my dye ink over that stencil. Keep in mind that dye ink lightens up as it dries, so if you want a more saturated black, you can definitely go with black acrylic paint, both on the border as well as on the stencil. Now, as I'm doing my stenciling, I'm staying away from the center of the page. That's where I'm going to stamp my quote later on, and I don't want to have letters on the background to help the quote stand out even more. You can definitely get a similar look by using stamps from this stamp set. However, since I already have text, letters and numbers at the background, I'm just going for a visual texture with this stamp that gives you some grid. You can use it with an acrylic block or just with your fingers for a more organic look. And I'm just going to stamp with black again all over the background. Again, making sure that I stay away from the area where I plan to stamp my quote later on, so that it's not too busy there. One more detail for the background, I'm diluting black acrylic paint with water and I'm just going to add some splashes, and this is where I'm trying to convince myself to stop working on the background. I think it looks nice already, so it's time to play with the focal points. I'm going to leave my journal aside for the splashes to dry, and I'm going to work on my typewriter. Now I want to create a slit at the top so that I can add inside my flower composition. So I'm just using my craft knife and I'm going all along that line there. And as I mentioned, I'm going to create a flower composition coming out from the typewriter, but by having that slit you can definitely use a little paper inside and write your quote there. There are so many different ways that you can be creative with a typewriter. I'm just inking up the edges and I'm going to stick it on top of my page, but I'm making sure that I apply glue only at the center of the back. Keep in mind that this is actually a sticker, but I never use them as stickers just because I want to have the edges free so that I can tag underneath elements later on. And now I'm going to go through all the different elements that I have in the ephemera bag, and I'm going to choose a few flowers, some leaves, and just tuck them inside that slit so that they look as if they're coming from inside the typewriter. I'm not going for a perfectly symmetric flower composition. I want it to look more organic, like with wildflowers. And again, I'm not using them as stickers. I just use a dot of glue at the back just to make sure that I'm able to stick other elements underneath. Then, as promised, I'm going to use all the products from my new collection. So we used the acrylic paints, we did use the ephemera, we did use the stencil. Let's play with the rub-ons now. I'm going to choose a few of those designs. I like to cut them out with my scissors and separate the design that I want to work with. Then I can peel it off, try to decide where this is going to go, and then I'm just going to commit and stick it down. Then I'm using a ball tool. I'm holding the sticker from one side and I lift the release paper as I go. If I see that something didn't transfer, I can always go back and do it with no issues at all. So I'm starting from one side, going all the way to the bottom, and I always have the perfect result. I don't just stick it down, rub all over the place and then peel off the release paper. You will never get perfect results like that. But it really depends on the look that you are going for. Sometimes we don't want perfect results for a more distressed look. So here I'm also going to add a butterfly. You can definitely use one of the butterflies from the ephemera pack. There are a few included. However, I decided to go with the rub-on just to show you one more example. Again, you can see I'm starting from one side, going all the way to the other. And check out, it's not shiny at all. And now I'm going to stamp my quote. I decided to go with Be Happy for this page, and I'm stamping letter by letter by using my alphabet stamp set from my first collection. Now notice that as I was doing my blending all around the edges with that stencil, I did use my blending tool and I didn't oversaturate the edges, and I don't like how these look so toned down against that black on the black letters. So again, it's not a problem to go back and add details on or change your mind about things that you did. I'm just using an alcohol marker here and going over the stencil. The beauty of my stone paper is that even if you use your alcohol markers over this paper, it's not going to bleed at the back. Now, to add some more details on this side of the project, on this page, I want to introduce a few more rub-ons so that I have the same details on both pages, flowers here and there. I'm going to embellish some of the letters with a few flowers and leaves just to make them look more whimsical and to add that extra something. Plus, having the same details on both pages always helps the project to come together. And if you follow my videos, you guessed it, it's time to bring out my white gel pen. By the way, I get a lot of questions of what I'm using. This is a jelly roll, and the exact one that I'm using now is number 10. So you can see that the highlights are quite thick and really stand out. I'm going to add some highlights all over the place on the rub-ons as well. It works lovely on rub-ons too, because they are matte and it glides lovely on top of them. I'm going to add highlights on the typewriter, on the letters, pretty much everywhere I can. And notice how that white on the letters help them stand out even more. I also like to go all around the edge of the border and add a black line there as well. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I feel like it makes a huge difference. It really helps that border to stand out. And it's time for the white splashes, which is always my last step. Lately I've been using white calligraphy ink, which I find works beautifully and it's really convenient, but you can definitely use white acrylic paint and dilute it with water. So that's the project for today. Here are some close-up photos where you can see the details better. I try to use as many of the products from my new collection as possible, and I will share even more projects in the coming weeks. I will also combine them with the previous collection. Keep in mind that just because I came up with a new collection, the previous one is not going to go discontinued. So if you can't find something, be sure that it's going to come back in stock. So that was the project for today. I hope that you had fun, that you got inspired. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you all next time.